What up, y'all? It's Season Love, SZNLUV, that's who I be, and welcome to another episode of the Money Healing Monologues. Over here at the Money Healing Monologues, I like to open up a space to speak about the development of Black wealth, health, and excellence. So, join me every single Monday where I like to reiterate, reteach, and dissect some shit that I just think us as a Black community should speak about. And of course, the purpose of this is to open up a conversation, so please feel free to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if I ruffled some feathers, whatever the case may be, comment down below and let me know what's tea. Today, on episode 31 of the Money Healing Monologues, we will be speaking about children, childcare, and the system. When I'm saying children, I mean like the literal children. I believe personally that children are one of the most oppressed groups, besides from Black people, of course. But especially Black children, oh my gosh, I feel like children in general are just very, very, very neglected in the society and system that we have become accustomed to today. And then childcare, I'm talking more so about how children are taken care of, because children aren't only taken care of by their parents, they're also taken care of by the communities and, places through socialism, like school and church and, their neighborhood and stuff like that. They're also impacted by that as well. And they're also raised by those other external factors as well, in my opinion. And then the system, of course, I mean the government, the people that have been elected to create the society that we live in today. So yeah, as you know, and if you don't, I like to go down who, what, where, when, why, and how format. And the how will always be a question that is down below in the description box if you're listening in on YouTube, and in the question box if you're listening in on Spotify, Anchor, or Apple Podcast. So let's get into it, right? So for who, I asked, who does this impact specifically? I feel like the issue surrounding children, childcare, and the system specifically impacts the children, the parents, and the community. The children, because they're the actual ones being impacted, because children are innocent. Children come on this earth, they did not ask to fucking be here, and they gotta go through all of this extra shit because of the world that we've bred through everything that's happened to us thus far. They have to be born into a world that is literally just fucked up, and that is not their fault. And then I say the parents, because becoming a parent is not fucking easy, and people be having them willy-nilly. But that's because of the type of society that we fucking live in. It doesn't even matter what color of the skin you are, you know what I'm saying? You can still be a bad fucking parent because of the way that you were brought up in this society that has impacted you. And then I say the community, because these are the same people, these are the same children that we have to literally, they have to grow up and become a part of this world. So that in turn eventually affects our community. And then moving me into my what, I asked what aspects of the system impact children in a negative way. I say that the way that people are impacted by the system is the way that they treat their children. So because we live in a hyper-individualistic, capitalistic, patriarchal society, that impacts people in a certain way. And you can see how people act because of all of these oppressive constructs that have been set against us. So understanding that we've all been traumatized, we've all been affected, one can see that all of that just trickles down to the next generation. That's why I got generational trauma and you got generational trauma. It don't matter if you in the generation above me or the generation after me. You got some trauma to deal with, and a lot of it is not yours. I would say majority, if not all of the trauma that you got is passed down to you. And that's not our fault. Did I ask to pop out the pussy? No, I did not. Exactly. To get a little bit more specific, the aspects that the system really, really, really either doesn't focus on purpose or literally just neglects altogether is emotional intelligence, basic nurturing for other human beings, no empathy for other human beings. All of these play a really big factor into how we treat each other and then into how we treat our children ultimately at the end. Moving me into my where, I ask, where do we see this discrimination in the physical? So in our physical world that we live in now, where do we see the discrimination of children in our physical reality right now? And like I said earlier, through socialism, children have to go to school. Forcing them to go and be indoctrinated by the same system that has oppressed the adults is irresponsible. This is the same exact way that the parents were traumatized and were allowing children to go in the same exact route so that they can be traumatized in the same way. In my opinion, that is very irresponsible, and it's a lack of empathy, like I said. For my when, I asked, when can children receive better? And my answer to that was when the people who have the power accept change. Now, the people that have the power are the parents and the system. The children are innocent. Children are literally innocent. They did not ask to be here. They did not ask to be on this earth. There are so many parents that's out here that are stuck in their same ways, that cannot accept the fact that new times are among us and things are changing. And that energy of just not allowing yourself to shift keeps us stagnant as a whole. Like, it keeps the children stagnant. It keeps them in the same little rat race that we have all become accustomed to. You know what I mean? And I just think it's really irresponsible. You know what I'm saying? Like, parents and the system, the older people, y'all know better. We know fucking better. So it's time for us to do better so that our children don't have to suffer the same way that we've suffered. Now, there's a lot of parents and just older people in the older generations that love to preach like, oh, I had to go through this, that, and the third, and da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. So what you're going to do is nothing. You got it good. You got it good. You really going to sit here and tell a child that they have it good in this fucked up ass system that we live in today? You a dead, bold-faced liar. You're a liar. Because nobody has it good. Not even you. For this how many years you've been on this fucking earth. And you're still accepting the same exact fucking shit. And I hope this episode reaches whoever the fuck needs to fucking hear it. Especially for the older generation. Like, it is so crucial to accept change for the next generations. For the children. Shifting how things once were so that we can have a better future, not only for us but for them as well, because we're giving them this shit of a country and looking at them like, you better make do because we had to go through it. Do you know how selfish and just like fucked up that is? That is so irresponsible to me. And I completely disagree with that. They did not ask to be here. I did not ask to be here and have to deal with all of this fucking trauma. But here I am on my platforms sitting here talking about the black excellence, wealth, and health. Like, why? Because of the fucked up world that I live in. And I can't sit here and work a regular job knowing that the world is so fucked up and nobody gives a fuck. Especially the people that are in the positions to actually make the fucking change. That shit is fucking stupid to me. That shit is mad dumb. Sorry, this is a topic that gets me a little riled up because it's like I love children so much, and this is an act of me nurturing my inner child. My inner child has been through so much shit that was literally not my fault, but has been projected onto me as if it is my fault because of the irresponsible nature of the system and my parents. Moving me into my why, I asked, why should we even focus on this? And I said, because children deserve a promising future. Now, when I talk about all of this being irresponsible, the lack of empathy, the lack of emotional intelligence, the lack of basic nurturing for other human beings, this doesn't only trickle into, how we treat each other and how we treat children. I think it also trickles into like the type of world that we're leaving these children. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we are so selfish towards one another, we mistreat Mother Nature and we abuse her natural resources. You know what I mean? We have such a strong lack of community to the point where in most neighborhoods, especially like I live in the US, in NYC specifically, like I don't know my neighbors and my neighbors don't know me. You know what I'm saying? It's not a connected community. You know what I mean? And that's simply because of the hyper individualistic society that we live in today. We're not used to having to connect with each other. We're not used to having to open up to each other in that sense. I don't know where they do that at, but they definitely don't do that shit over here. Children deserve a more promising future. I remember being a kid and like literally like, you know, if you in Gen Z, you know what I'm saying? We were born into 9/11, and then like there's just so many like just traumatic event after traumatic event after traumatic event. So like it's like we're like, I feel like Gen Z is a little bit I want to say immune to that shit. Like we've grown a tough skin when it comes to traumatic events happening to us as a generation, because we're so used to just fucked up shit happening all the fucking time. We did not ask that. We didn't ask for that shit. We did not ask to be here. We really fucking didn't. That wasn't a promising future that we were born into. So for the next generations, we like parents and the system have to take accountability for the fucked up shit that they still decide to deal with till this day, and the shit that they still choose to let impact them till this day. Which is why we're still in this stagnant energy as a society, which is why we still accept the shit that we accept from the patriarchy and capitalism in general. That's just how I feel. That's how I think. Moving me into my how, which will always be a question that is down below in the description box if you're listening in on YouTube, and in the question box if you're listening in on Spotify, Anchor, or Apple Podcast. My question for this week is, how has the system impacted your childhood? Now, for me personally, the system has always impacted my childhood. Like from ever since I could remember, I fucking hated capitalism with everything in my bone because of what it did to my family. Like, I did not grow up with the most nurturing mother at all. Or with a nurturing mother at all. She wasn't nurturing at all. She acted like she fucking hated us and hated the fact that she had kids. So that's one aspect, you know what I'm saying, of the emotionally unintelligent, lack of empathy, energy. Pertaining to my external world, I've never had a stable home, ever. And I've definitely spoken about this in some of my other episodes, but I've never had a stable home. Me and my family was always moving. You know what I'm saying? Always in the shelter. We're always bouncing around and having to make do with the shit that we had. You know what I'm saying? I am now getting to kind of, I want to say eat what I want, because I always had to eat what I had. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of background that I've grown up in, and I'm sure that a lot of people that's watching this can relate to that as well. I am a physical manifestation of how a fucked up system has impacted me. I shouldn't have to, you know, and of course I love what I do. I love this podcast, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that this is a reality at all, for me to have to sit here and explain and dissect these things that need to be reiterated for my community is fucked up in itself, because it's like, I'm only 20. I'm about to be 21 in like 2 months, April. I'm so young to have to be dissecting and regurgitating these very shits that should have, like, people should have been focusing on off rip. You feel me? And this is not me blaming the older generations, especially not the older black generation, because Jesus, oh my goodness, we know that's some trauma. That's some fucking trauma that was passed down to y'all because of the system and the way that your parents have grown up, our grandparents have grown up. And like I said in my past episode, generational trauma trickles, and it trickles and it trickles and it trickles and it trickles and it trickles. And at some point we all have to stop and take accountability and just say to ourselves, okay, we're not gonna fucking accept this anymore, because the children of the next generation do not deserve to live in a world like this. Facts. At some point it has to give, in my opinion. At some point, something has to give. Somebody, a group of people, like, we all have to put our foot down and really say, like, okay, like, we gotta fucking stop this shit. We have to stop the shit. We actually have to find ways to shift the energy of this nation so that we all don't fucking kill ourselves and kill each other. And that's just how I feel. And I think I'm going to leave this right there. So it is, so be it, ashe. On that note, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Money Healing Monologues. I really, really, really hope this resonated with you in some type of way, whether that be positive or negative for you. I don't care. Please let me know down below in the comments. I open up spaces like this so that we can actually speak about this. So whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, or I ruffled some feathers, I said some shit that you don't like, please let me know down below in the comments. Your opinion is valid. Your train of thought is valid. And I respect your own individual way of thinking. So please feel free to express that down below here in this safe space that I have created for us. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the podcast, and I'm gonna see you guys next week. All right, peace.